Peace. This is Love of Love Oneness, and I'm coming to you tonight to talk to you a little bit about blended families. Um, this is a very great subject, I think, because so many of us are experiencing blended families today. Actually, there is really a rarity to see anything other than that. So, in talking about blended families, I've experienced some really great things about them, and I've experienced some not so great things about them. Um, what I am gonna say is that's the dogs, somebody's dogs, the neighbor's dogs. What I am gonna say, I'm gonna start with the not so great things. So a lot of times coming into a blended family, there are so many different things that you have to be aware of, and so many just there's so many different things. Like, for instance, the children. I'm going to start with the children. Coming into a blended family, the children more likely than not are going to rebel. They are going to rebel because they much rather for their mother and their father to be together. And so, especially like in our situation, when we first began to come together, our children were rebelling because they really did want their mom and their father to stay together. And there was no way for that to happen. My children did what they could do, and sometimes that was, straight rebellion, which I could expect because they're my children. Sometimes that came in the form of just not, wanting to listen to, at the time, my boyfriends or my ex's new partner. Sometimes it came in coming back to me and making up, I don't want to say they made them up, but maybe exaggerating or dramatizing stories that happened at their father's house, just because they knew that they would get a reaction from me because of how the relationship ended with me and their father, and how quickly that relationship blossomed. And sometimes they were made up stories. Like, sometimes they just completely fabricate a story just so perhaps, I would call and get really upset and call their father, and what do you have going on over there, and who is this woman, and why is she saying this, that, and another. And I didn't even realize it at first. At first, I was very naive to it. I just really wanted to believe them. But I guess in a way, too, if I'm honest with myself, I wanted to believe the worst about her. And that wasn't necessarily the best thing to do. I realize now, of course, that I was caught up in my feelings. So, yeah. And I think he was, too, because the kids did it our way, too. Like, they would go home and make up these stories about what was going on at our house and what was being done to them. And, sometimes it was a lot of the times it's very exaggerated. Like, there was many times me and my ex had to sit down and really, like, do you not know who I am? Do you not remember who I am? Do you think I would let these things happen to our children? Like, so in the beginning was really rough. And then also, too, when you're blending a family, it does matter how the blended family began, because if the blended family started with somebody being dishonest, if the blended family started because somebody was dishonest and was doing things outside of the original relationship, then there's going to be animosity amongst everybody involved. There's no way around that. And so that's another thing that we have to be very aware of. Also, too, overstanding, like, when we're coming into a blended family, like, that the other people, the other parents, the other original parents, feel some kind of way, even if they weren't still together with your partner, they feel some kind of way because of seniority in a way, which is why I call, um, which is why I say we live in a bastardized polygamous system now, because regardless or not, that we want to call it polygamous, we do. Anytime your family is not just your family, but it's dealing with an extended or blended family, you're dealing with a polygamous relationship, because your partner cannot give themselves 100% to just your relationship. They have to go outside of the relationship, and they have to cater to, in some circumstances, or relate to, they have to meet the needs of the children, therefore the other parents outside of your relationship. And that's a very difficult situation. Like, especially when you're in a relationship, like, you have to be able to balance the needs of your current partner with the needs of the mother or the father of your children. And sometimes everybody bumps heads, and sometimes there's a tug of war, and sometimes, it's a very, very difficult situation. So that's just a little bit of the difficulties of it. And then, of course, we won't even get into how, because of people being in their feelings, it can expand into disrespectful situations. For me, I have always advised my clients, as well as taking this advice for myself, to really try to not get in between what needs to happen with my husband and the other parents of his other children. So I really have tried to stay clear of that as much as possible. Now for some of the good things. So recently I have experienced some beautiful, beautiful things. One of the things now, my husband and I have been together for coming up on 7 years. So my oldest daughter was maybe about 10 when he came. 9. She was about 9 when he came into her life. And so sometimes she'll call just to speak to him. And sometimes, she loves him. Like, she feels like she has a relationship with him, that she can talk to him outside of me, that she can call him for advice outside of just... Because sometimes, especially when dealing with teenagers, hearing it from just your mom and your father is not enough. They need the added confirmation from somebody outside of their parents. And so she feels comfortable in calling my husband and saying, this is what's going on with me. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I love that. Like, I think that's so important. Another thing too that happened pretty recently, my oldest daughter turned 16, and something that I never saw coming, her father and her stepmother actually threw her Sweet 16 party, because I'm dealing with some personal issues right now. And it was a beautiful party. It was absolutely beautiful party. She was gorgeous. Her dress was gorgeous. Her hair was gorgeous. Her father walked her into her party like he was giving his daughter away. But he wasn't, of course. She's 16. But he walked her into the party. He sat her down in a chair. He put her shoes on her, and they had like a father and daughter dance right in the beginning. Like, I thought that was beautiful. And her stepmother looks on very pleased. But what really touched me was this was the first time that I ever really had a true conversation with her, like beyond just, hello, how you doing? Or, a wave while we're exchanging the kids or something. And I thanked her for the beautiful job that she did with the children. And I told her that I would like for us to begin to formulate a real relationship, because, she didn't have to do that for my daughter. And what she said to me touched me so much. She said, well, she's my daughter too. And that's when I realized that my children literally have a village of people surrounding them. At this birthday party, my ex was there with his wife. She's his wife now. With her mother. His mother was there, his aunts, his cousins. My mother was there, my sister. Her cousins was there. Some of her friends were there. And we all was in this space, happy together, talking, laughing, enjoying each other, dancing, enjoying her and celebrating her. And there's a total of 3 children that I have with my ex. And what I realize is that they're getting a village. They're getting the best of all of us. They have so many eyes on them. They have so many ears on them. They have so much love around them. I'm getting bitten up out here. They have so much love around them. It's amazing. And this is what our families are used to. This is what our families should be. We are supposed to be actively raising our children together. And what I can say is that despite the fact that me and my ex are no longer together, we are amazing co-parents. We are amazing co-parents. We talk to each other frequently about the needs of our children. Originally we did have child support that's ending. That has ended. There's no child support now because we understand that we're both doing what we can for our children. And where one is slacking, the other one is going to pick it up. And that's what it's supposed to be. I shouldn't have to demand for you to do for your child. He's a terrific father to my children. He's a terrific father to my children. And when they're not with me, when they're over there, I'm comfortable. Like, I know that they're being well taken care of. The philosophies on life may be a little bit different, but even over there, they understand that, the struggles that we're going through as a people. And so I'm comfortable with knowing that they're being taught properly. Of course, there's some things that I have to add on because of my philosophies on life, and I can't expect for everyone to adopt my philosophies, but ultimately, when I think about blended families now, I'm beginning to understand. I'm beginning to really overstand and understand the necessity and the importance of all of us getting along because of what is best for the children. And it's outside of just material things. It's the philosophies, it's the values, it's the morals, it's the upbringing. Like, our children are up against so much now. They're up against, sex in school. They're up against, and I don't want to say it's up against necessarily, but it is. Like, they're up against the gay agenda and, embracing their sexuality, whatever form that might be. They're up against being bullied for not being the same. They're up against, trying to get an education, but not appearing to be too smart without getting bullied. They're eating, they're drinking, they're, the peer pressures of drugs, the peer pressure of sex. Like, there's so much out there. There's so much out there that they're up against. And the violence, joining a gang. So, for me, blending the family, I understand the importance. I really do. I understand the importance. And it's my hope that we can continue to mend the bridges so that more people can embrace blended families, so that we can start really communicating about what needs to be done in order for our children to be raised and get the best of all of us. We should not see enemies in each other. We should be embracing each other and opening our arms to each other and loving each other so that our children get the best of all of us. There might be something that I'm lacking that my daughters are and my son is getting from their stepmom. There might be something that they are lacking from their father that they're getting from my husband. You know, where my ex-husband is an alpha male, you know, very much into, you know, security, you know, the right to bear arms, gardening, the safety of his home, the ensuring that they are stable and secure. My husband is very spiritual. He's a very spiritual man. He sees the reality of life, you know, and so that he helps to implant that into my children, so they get to embrace both sides of life. They get to see, you know, materialism versus spiritualness, the balance in that. They get to see, you know, femininity. They get to see healing. They get to see education, finances. They get to learn finances, because all of these things are what the combined family unit, the blended family unit, brings to the table. So where I'm lacking, they may not be, and that can only work to benefit all of our children, to make them better humans, to make them better beings, to make them stronger and more capable. And hopefully, as they grow and they extend their families, if they extend their families, the things that they have seen us do as being the adults, as being the grown-ups, hopefully they will be able to do better than what we have created for them. And this is how the village grows. So that's just my 2 cents on blended families. I hope it wasn't too all over the place. But it's just been my experience, and some of the things that different people, different clients have brought to my attention, or sisters. And I hope that it benefits somebody else too. So until the next time, peace.